And now to new developments in France, where French riot police have used batons, tear gas, and water cannons to clear demonstrators from the central Paris square, where a crowd of thousands had gathered to protest President Emmanuel Macron's pension reforms. Lines of police with riot shields and batons drawn advanced towards the Place de la Concorde late on Thursday evening, while others fired water cannons after a fire was lit in the middle of the historic square. Protests also broke out in other French cities, including Marseille, Nantes, Nice, among others. This comes after French President Emmanuel Macron decided to trigger Article 49.3 of the French Constitution, which grants the government executive privilege to push through controversial pension reforms without a parliamentary vote. Recall that Prime Minister Elizabeth Borne triggered the special procedure to push the bill through the National Assembly without a vote. The French leader wants to raise the retirement age so workers put more money into the system, which the government says is on course to run a deficit. The move following months of demonstrations and in the face of overwhelmingly hostile public opinion risk inflaming more protest movements. I have joining me now Global Affairs Analyst Nweke to speak more on the protests against the pension reforms in France. He joins me virtually from Belgium. Good to have you join us.
Thank you, Precious, for having me.
So we've seen President Macron continue to push for pension reforms in the face of public resistance and also resistance from Parliament. Why do you think that is?
Well, two ways to look at it as follows. Number one, French President Emmanuel Macron campaigned for a second term on the back of a sweeping pension reforms. So for him, it runs very deep. It is at the heart of his politics as far as his second term is concerned, and he is determined to keep to his election promise of reforming the pension system. That's one. Now, on the other side, in terms of the resistance that it has met, this is pretty, I would say, controversial reform proposal, which has very, very little chance of succeeding in Parliament. And so, he decided that the special constitutional provision under Article 49.3 that grants him the power to see through legislations actually bypassing the Parliament was the best way to get this politically exigent reform through. Well, obviously, neither the Parliament nor the Court of Public opinion, in this case, the French citizen, are prepared to have.
But let me ask you, you mentioned the special constitutional powers that was invoked in Parliament. If this bill was to scale through, it would not have the parliamentary legitimacy for it to run, as it were. What is the implication of that?
I lost you for a moment, Precious. Could you repeat the question?
Yes, you were talking about the use of the special constitutional powers to pull through this or to push this particular bill through. And I was asking that if they're able to push it through, it might not have the parliamentary legitimacy for it to run. What is the implication of that for President Macron?
Well, the implication for that, the very obvious one is at least a call for no confidence vote. Now, whether that will, scale through is, of course, a different question, but it looks likely that, that call for no confidence vote is going to happen. Now, the key question you ask yourself is, why has he decided to, go draconian by invoking Article 49.3? It is very simple. He just doesn't have the majority in Parliament. Don't forget that his political party, the Renaissance Party, actually has a minority seat in the national in the Parliament, and so even within his own party, there is no complete buy-in. There are members of his party that do not see eye to eye with him on this proposed reform of making pension age 64 instead of the current 62. So you see, the confidence vote is something that will almost certainly come true, but the group of opposition parties are so fragmented that it is unlikely they will be able to see that, no confidence vote through. So somehow, even though, this isn't looking good for Macron, ultimately, this might still happen without him losing his, position as president.
It's a motion which has been suggested by perhaps his greatest rival, Marine Le Pen. But let's also look at his popularity rating. It is now at an all-time low of 32%. Only 32% of the people in France, of French citizens, are saying, look, we're happy with President Macron. Could this even make him more unpopular?
Well, yes. The question you will ask yourself is also, he will be able, can you still hear me?
Yes, we lost connection with you for a minute. Just start, from where I was asking you about whether this could make him more popular. So please go ahead.
Yes, indeed. He is French President Emmanuel Macron is very, very unpopular. Now, like you said, 32%. As a matter of fact, the last poll that I saw placed him